Good morning, dear subscribers. Welcome to today's presentation. Today, I'm Alfred Omwenga, a teacher of English and Literature at St. Charles Luanga Girls National School. Today, I'm going to look at how to write a KCSE essay, especially in question 2 and the 3. So these are the steps that you need to follow in order to write a good essay that you will score 20 out of 20. So the first point, you need to underline the key terms in the question. That is for question 2 and 3. For example, in the Fathers of Nations, you can be asked a question like this: bad decisions lead to suffering. For example, bad decisions lead to suffering. Justify the statement using illustrations from the Fathers of Nations by Paul Cook. So the first thing is to underline the key terms in the question. Once you've done that, those key terms act like a compass that will give you direction as you write the essay. For example, in the question that I've given, you have to underline bad decisions, and then the second part is suffering. Bad decisions lead to suffering. So what we expect to see in the essay are characters who make bad decisions and how at the end they suffer. So first you have to underline the key terms in the questions. Then number two, what follows after you have done that, we expect you to write the introduction. So the first paragraph is normally assumed to be the introduction. And because the question has two parts, there is a vice, and actually, once there is a vice, we expect actually punishment. Because KCSE questions are set in two ways. They can give you a vice, and then we expect punishment. Or you can be given a reward, and then we expect success. That's how the questions are set. For example, in this question, we have a vice, which is bad decisions, and then we have punishment, which is actually the result of doing a bad decision. So we expect an introduction, and in this introduction, do not repeat the question. We expect you to interpret the question. For example, you can say in life, you can have a general introduction. For example, you can say in life, there are people who make decisions irrationally, and at the end, these people undergo pain. For example, as illustrated in the novel Fathers of Nations by Paul Cook. So that is a general introduction. Or sometimes you can have what we call a contextualized introduction, whereby this one is drawn from the text, whereas the general introduction is drawn from the society. That's the difference between a general introduction and a contextualized introduction. So a contextualized introduction is drawn from the text. For example, you can say in the Fathers of Nations, we have some characters who make wrong decisions, and in the end, these characters undergo agony, for example. That is a specific introduction or a contextualized introduction that is drawn from the text. Another type of introduction that you can make that is acceptable is an outline introduction. And here you can tell us the points that actually you are going to look at in the introduction. For example, you can say some characters like Rahul, Engineer Saif Kahir, Professor Karanji Kimani make wrong decisions, and in the end, these characters undergo pain. You can say that is an outline introduction. And then another type of introduction that is expected is what we call a paraphrase introduction. This is where you pick the key terms and actually replace them with your own words and then add your own words. That's what we call a paraphrase introduction. For example, instead of using bad decisions, you can say wrong. You can actually say wrong choices, for example, and then instead of using pain, you can maybe instead of using suffering, you can say pain. Wrong choices lead to pain. So you can actually replace. That's what we call a paraphrase type of introduction. And then the other one that is again accepted in this is you can have a general and a contextual. So you can have both in the introduction and actually a general and a specific. So what is important is to interpret the question, do not repeat the question the way it is. If you repeat, that one will be a no introduction. So that's what we expect you to do in the first paragraph. So interpret the question. So the first paragraph is always assumed to be the introduction. So after we have done that, we go now to the body. In the body here, we expect to see a character who makes a bad decision, and then give us some background information Then give us the textual details, not give us general or sweeping statements, so those ones do not score, and then give us the result or the outcome. In this case, we have bad decisions, so we expect a character like Professor Kimani, for example, making a wrong decision of going to confront newborn Walongi for stealing his wife. And then we need to see some background. Why did Asia actually leave for newborn Walongi? For example, this is after Tuni has an accident, and then Asia feels that because Tun did not use the father's car, that could have led to the accident. So she decides to leave the married, and actually she tells Professor Kimani that that newborn Walom had proposed to her and she had accepted. So we expect that, and then you build it, how he goes to the office, how we see the confrontation, the exchange that takes place, and then we see the result, how he is arrested because he was assaulting a member of parliament, how he is demoted from the university, and eventually the rejection, how he feels rejected. And actually, when Tadalfa comes, he decides to join it. So we expect you to have actually the bad decision, then we have the background information, then give us the textual evidence where we see now the bad decision being made, and then we see the pain that comes as a result of making bad decisions. So you need to develop using that technique. So we have the bad decision, and always begin with a topic sentence. Always don't circumnavigate or beat around the bush. Start with a topic sentence, then give us the textual evidence, then give us the outcome. So that's what we expect when you are writing the book of NBC. So that applies for question 2 and 3. And finally, we expect you to have a conclusion. And a conclusion in here, you can draw a moral lesson from what you have discussed, or you can give your own opinion, or you can summarize what you have discussed. So that's what we call the conclusion. Thank you very much for listening to us. It's a bye-bye from us.